Let's make it a little bit official. Thank you all for coming tonight. The talk of Tal is actually really special because there are two events going on in about a space of a week and a half. One of them that is actually organized by Tal is the DCX, the Diamond Circle X event that just happened this week, and it was a great success, I heard. Tal is also one of the speakers there, and he will be speaking at the DNX. But today you get the creme de la creme at hOurSpace. So why are we here at hOurSpace? Kind of, you heard the introduction earlier from Ash. We're two nomads organizing meetups, and by coincidence we kind of had the opportunity to take over this space for a month. So we're actually really satisfied about the community that has come here to work with us. We're exchanging skills, ideas, knowledge, and some really fun lunches, and of course any other kind of events. So thanks for coming here today. Tal is a really talented man, really zen. I feel almost calm when I'm around you, but he's made a list of 100 goals to achieve in 10 years, and I think he's going to talk a little bit about that and how he kind of engineers happiness for himself. And I hope you find it inspiring. I'm sure you will. And yeah, let's give it up for Tal.
All right. So I like this word. Yeah, who doesn't? Freedom. How many people would say that freedom is a driving force in their life, like one of the biggest driving force? 99%, 95%. Right? So yeah, freedom is big for me. Like it's definitely driving force in my life. But the question that I want to ask is like, but freedom for what? Now it sounds like a silly question or kind of counterintuitive, but in my opinion, it's a game changer question. And basically this talk is more about this. This is basically what I'm going for. So the story that I want to share with you today is actually about my 100 life goals journey. And through this story we'll kind of get to the question of freedom for what. So the 100 life goals started like in Australia 10 years ago, around 10 years ago. At the time, I just finished my master's degree. I was 30 years old, and I kind of asked myself the question of what's next. All right, where do I go from here? And I had this random conversation with two friends, and we started to speak about life goals and bucket lists. And because I'm Jewish, I was born in Israel, we don't have New Year's Eve, so I didn't really get into this whole New Year's resolution thing. And I wanted to actually make a list, like, you know, like a bucket list or life goals. And my friend actually told me that he doesn't plan his life and he doesn't think in terms of bucket list because his dad died when he was 40 years old. And something actually clicked for me there. Like the fact that my friend basically decided that he doesn't going to wait until he's 60 or 70 or like whatever, or he doesn't really look too far ahead. And my friend said that he actually live his life like he only had till the age of 40 to live. So we were both of us 30 years old, and it was like kind of 10 years. And I thought to myself, that's pretty much an interesting way to live life. Like, just imagine right now, if you only had 10 years to live, maybe your life decision would be different. You would plan your life differently. And again, something clicked to me, clicked inside of me. And I asked myself, like, how would I live my life? And I said to myself, probably I would have no urgency. I would actually go for what I really want. We finished the conversation, I went back home, and I made a list of 100 life goals. I kind of divided it to 10 categories of life, all right? And I said to myself, yeah, this looks cool. This seems to be like, you know, that would be a good life if I'm basically going to achieve all of that. So guess what happened in the first year? Absolutely nothing. And maybe that's the first tip that I want to share with you today is like kind of setting goals or making lists is not enough. Something else is needed. And that something else for me was pain, actually. Most people here, I'm quite sure that you had some pain in your life and it drove you to something else. How many people here like at something like that. All right. So my first pain, actually, like of the first year, was I was in Australia. I just finished my master's degree, and I decided to migrate to Australia. But my English wasn't that good. My English was pretty basic. I couldn't construct English like so fluently or whatever. So and also like it caused me to feel that I'm not at home. And I said, if I'm actually going to live in Australia, I want to feel at home. And language is a very important component of it. And I wanted to socialize. I just wanted to meet people. And so basically that was the start of my 100 life goals. And I decided that like the first year was the year of socializing. So that's me in the year of, sometimes I look at these photos and I can't even recognize myself, like I was bothering people. But I want to say something about the 100 life goals. Like it was divided to 10 categories, and every year I made sure I have one big goal, like very big goal. And all the other goals were kind of either leading to that or something that I felt that it was fun or whatever. But the big goal for this year was that to socialize every weekend for 52 weeks. Basically, I pushed myself. And there were some other goals like around there. It was about, we did like something crazy of 60 nights in a row of going out and just pretty much having fun. I dressed like Australian. I mean, like suits. I mean, I was born in Israel. Suits wasn't really for me. I went for horse racing. And by the end of the year, I was a transformed man. I was way more confident. My English was better. I had a girlfriend. Everything started to be better for me. So I launched the year of fitness. Basically, my big goal for that year was an Ironman triathlon, and I did it in New Zealand. What I really want to say, I was pretty much like kind of inspired by the concept of immersion from the social year, and I basically translated it to fitness. So I trained like 7 days a week, morning, evening, and by the end of the year, I actually like achieved my goal. Pain event. So this is another time that I felt like a very, very strong pain, which brought me actually to the year of freedom. I had a student loan of $34,000, and my credit card was maxed. And that was a very, very strong pain for me. Like at some point, the credit card company basically called me, and I couldn't pay the rent, and I asked for a loan. So that was kind of the beginning of my year of freedom. I had a website actually in Hebrew. It was for Israelis who wanted to migrate and move to Australia. And that was there was a little bit of passive income coming from the advertisement, but that was kind of my plan. I said, all right, I'm going to start investing more energy into building websites, and I also started my own blog at that time. But it wasn't enough, because after half a year, my debt was still there. It was pretty big, $34,000. The website wasn't enough to cover it, and then something came, and I call it like a crisis. It wasn't a pain. It was really a crisis. Basically, my parents had a car accident in Israel. They flipped their car. My mom needed an operation, and she was she was in the hospital almost for 3 months. And I remember this pain of actually needing to ask permission from my boss to actually fly to Israel and come back. And then back then I was a project manager in a company, so I had a lot of responsibilities. But that pain was really a driving force. The fact that I have to ask the boss and I have to go back, and my life was kind of I didn't really have control for my life. And that actually really what pushed me to go for this financial freedom goal. I worked from that point, I think, 16 hours a day. I built 50 websites. I worked like crazy. In my mind, I wanted freedom so badly. So this is basically you remember the question, freedom for what? For me, at that point, it was freedom for unlimited travel. It wasn't just travel, because traveling I already did. I was a backpacker. My company sent me to projects around the world. So I already saw the world. But it was this unlimited travel. Unlimited travel meant to me, I can be wherever I want, I can do whatever I want, with whatever I want. Basically, that was like the main thing. So I had a big reason for that. And my parents, were okay, and I got my freedom. This is a photo from Brazil, I think Ilha Grande. I went like on one-way tickets from Australia at the time to Nepal. I went to Everest Base Camp, and then India, and then I spent like 3 months in Europe, traveled in Switzerland, like motorcycle trip, then spent half a year in South America, whatever, then Spanish, did the Brazilian Carnival. You probably already have a life like that, but at that time I was like, oh my God, like this life is amazing. I kind of tick off my bucket list, I do whatever I feel. And again, I had this like income coming from the hard work that I've done in Australia. So life was good. Again, pain. How can you even have pain when you have a life like that? Now, I don't know how many people here are long-term nomads, when I say long-term, like many years, but for me at some point it felt like something is missing. Something is missing in this life. Back then I didn't even call it nomad life. It was just like me traveling with nomad tickets. So what was missing, I was basically at Ilha Grande. How many people have been in Ilha Grande in Brazil? It's a beautiful place that you can be after the carnival. There's no cars, no airports. It's like just one of those magical islands. Surfing, drinking caipirinhas, whatever. But again, something was missing, and what was missing for me was that I felt that I'm not contributing enough to the world. Like I was just really visiting those places, just having fun, whatever. But I felt that I want to contribute. So I kind of launched the Year of Contribution, and this just happened by chance. When I flew to Bolivia because I thought, all right, I'll probably find a project in Bolivia because it's the most, I think it's the poorest country in South America. But while I was in Bolivia and I did a project there, I saw an ad for in a hostel that they're looking for people to help in clearing wreckage in mudslides in Peru. And the minute I saw that, I basically flew to Peru the next day. Actually, I took the bus to Peru the next day. And I launched a project that of building a house to a family who lost their house. This was an amazing project, basically. It just really happened by chance. I think 50 people worked on this project. I donated money from friends or whatever. I put a website. And I started to feel happy again. There's more meaning to my life. I'm contributing. Later, I actually went and helped build a school in the Dominican Republic. And again, I answered my question, freedom for contribution. I don't know, again, how many people here sometimes feeling that they want to contribute to the world, and I think this is a good reason to have freedom for. I also fell in love at that time, and we traveled to Israel. This I have no idea where it is, but we basically, traveled, me and my girlfriend at the time. The next year we kind of really focused on adventures. So I spent 2 months in Thailand to become a Muay Thai fighter and surfed around the world. I didn't know how to surf, but basically that was my big goal, to go to those destinations and really kind of surf. This was we crossed the desert of Australia, in 4-wheel drive. Again, life is great. And we got married. We got married 3 times actually, in Israel, Brazil, and the US. She was American. She is American. She was American. And by the end of the year, we actually decided to choose Newport, Rhode Island as our home base. And that was a big debate because we couldn't, it was really hard to choose. Now, I don't know how many people here relate, you're smiling, but it can be hard if you're from one country, and another person from another country, to decide where. And sometimes even if you're still from same country, people have different preferences. And I said, if I'm going to get married, I will need to compromise. And this was my compromise, basically. One thing that, good to have a home base is that you can really work on business, really hard. And so basically, that was the year where I increased my passive income to 6-figure. I started built a software company, launched my own courses. Again, life is great until You guessed it right, crisis. And the crisis was related to the relationship. My wife at the time, she wanted something else. She didn't want the life that I wanted. And it's interesting because when we met, we traveled the world for 2 years together. And we did all those crazy adventures, and I really felt that I met my soulmate. But then when we moved to Newport, Rhode Island, I felt like my soul is dying inside. I couldn't really relate to the town. I couldn't really relate to my new lifestyle. And we went to, I think, 3 therapists. It's a small town, Newport, I think 5,000 people. And the joke at the time was that there are no more therapists for me to go, for us to go and to kind of solve our problems. So I'll just make the story short. We decided to separate. It was actually a beautiful separation. We chilled on a glass of wine, and so I'm happy that it didn't go to the place where sometimes it goes, where that's But that actually triggered for me the year of spirituality. I spent a lot of time meditating. I went to Bali, did 40 days of yoga. I did a detox fasting, 7 days in Thailand. And I really connected with myself. Really, it brought me to another level of actually knowing who I am. Before that, when people ask me, who are you, Tal? I used to say, I am whoever I want to be. And that year actually, taught me so much about the core and the essence of who I am. And that's, again, another reason for me, to have freedom. It's freedom for inner growth. Inner success, even, you may want to call it. When you have the time to actually really work on yourself. A lot of time we go travel and have all those cool experiences, but when you think about it, travel could be a really good way to gain something or learn something about yourself. Whatever it is, learning English, surfing, fighting, Muay Thai, anything can be an opportunity to actually learn about yourself. And that was actually the last year, the year of creativity. I went back to Israel. This is me appearing on being on stage. I learned drumming, and this warning is not part of the year of creativity.
I'm sorry.
It's all good.
No.
Maybe tomorrow?
Yes.
We don't have to. All right. So I learned drumming, and actually, I never thought that I have talent for music or anything, but I actually drummed in front of 10,000 people, in the Israeli Burning Man. So that was pretty cool. Just the fact, you can learn and really put yourself out there. I was I think again, the year of spirituality really brought me to a point of I went deeper with my goals, and I also launched a book, a 500-page book. If you told me 10 years ago that I would write in English, that would be insane. But that was kind of almost the last goal, and life is good. All right, connecting the dots. So that was last year, and I finished this crazy journey of 100 life goals, and connecting the dots. Steve Jobs used to say you can't connect the dots forward, you can only connect the dots backward, and therefore you need to kind of believe in something, mean something, karma, intuition, or whatever. And when I started the journey, I couldn't see how it's going to unfold. But when I actually look back, one of the things that I realized, and I think this is a very good message to share, is that freedom is not the end goal. A lot of people, that's what they want in life. Freedom, 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 freedom. But my question to you is, what's beyond that freedom? What's the vision beyond the vision? You have a vision for yourself, traveling the world, free, whatever. What's after that? What's beyond that? Well, how are you going to use your freedom? That's basically something that I kind of realized at some point, that I started freedom for outer success. That was kind of the main driving force. And outer success could be whatever, travel, money, just being successful in general. And there was 2 others, freedom for service. That's basically contribution, you giving to the world in some ways. And the freedom for inner growth, that's what I shared about, personal development and learning about who you are. And and just being in Zen mode, or center mode. But that is a very good point to be. If you basically have a project that fulfill like all those three circles, like the outer success, the inner growth, and service, you'll have a very, very strong driving force behind you. And I can give an example. Let's say you write a book. If you write a book just to make money, all right, that's fine. I wouldn't say anything against it. That would be freedom for outer success. But if you write the book for money, but also as a gift to the world, as something that is as contribution, you'll have way more power behind you. And also, if this book is actually forcing you to grow, whatever, like your writing skills or learning more, reflecting or something like that, just imagine writing a book from that place. And so that's basically what I want to ask today. Like, all right, you're in a very unique position, you know, like all of us, like having all this freedom. How are you going to use your freedom? Even if you're already free, like how are you going to use the freedom from here? There's so much behind it. That's what I feel. So I wanted to, basically that was the end of my presentation, but 2 months ago, the crisis alert. This is me like 2 months ago, after a snake bite experience. I nearly died. My blood pressure was 20 to 40. I was like in a really bad shape. And the reason I'm sharing that with you is because I realized at that point, like 2 months ago, that like all those crises, right? I can find something in common. They always drove me to something else in life. And I think basically this is the main message that I want to share with you, is that behind any crisis, there is an opportunity. There is a gift. We may not see it at the time, but there's something behind it. Just knowing that maybe we'll actually see it, it already can put us in a more relaxed place, and usually there's a calling behind it. So a crisis, the way I see it now, is just us meeting a certain edge. Like we all have some kind of comfort zone, and we meet an edge, and it feels like a crisis. But if we go beyond that, if we just know that there's something beyond that, we'll be way, way, way more relaxed about the next problem that is going to come our way. And that's another thing that I realized. All right, that was a snakebite experience, but I may have another crisis soon. I don't know, but I'm more prepared now. When I say I'm more prepared, it means that I'm not necessarily make the crisis of the problem as the main problem. I'm feeling that I'm ready for it, and when it comes, I know that there will be a gift behind that. And that already put me in a more positive state and ability to actually see the gift behind it. Because I think each one of us will continuously have problems. We'll get into a point where, oh, okay, I'm at my edge. Whatever it is, in relationship, in your business. A lot of time we just want to be happy and nothing, no problems. That's what we want. We set a goal and we don't really want the problem, but it's gonna come our way. And when it comes our way, my message is to kind of surrender to it, just be kind of almost accept it in some ways, and then from that seeing what the gift is. So that's the message today. Thank you.
So, I have a question. So in those years that you had set your goals and doing so many completely different things, were you still, how were you supporting yourself? Was it the same kind of project? Were you working remotely? How did you manage that work at the same time do so many different things?
So when I set the financial freedom goal, my definition of financial freedom is passive income is greater than lifestyle expenses. All right. And I made sure that I maintain this equation. So passive income was really important for me because it meant that I can do whatever I want, whenever I want. And also lifestyle expenses, so I minimized my expenses. When I started my trip, it was India, Nepal, very, very inexpensive. At some point I traveled anywhere. So I made sure that I increased my passive income. My main passive income at the time was I built a lot of websites that had like AdSense and advertisement on them. That on its own like was like 6-figure income, just that. But then like at some point I kind of diversified the income to whatever, coaching, courses, software. I really believe in diversified income and books as well. Now I have a little bit different way of how I, again, like looking on all those three circles. It's not just about the income. It's more about what's the meaning behind it, the contribution that I'm going to make. So I'm now choosing the project based on that. That's basically the answer.
So Tal, have you had a mentor to kind of guide you through that entire process, or multiple people who helped you in some way, or who could serve as some kind of a mirror kind of to bounce your ideas off?
I didn't have a mentor for the whole journey, but like for every specific journey, I had a surfing coach, because at some point I realized on my own, it won't happen. I tried, I gave it, so I did hire like people, even the Ironman Triathlon, I hired a coach. I hired a coach for writing English. So I hired coaches for specific journey, not for the whole thing. So yeah, I really believe in support, in some kind of support. Like supported, I would say, have more accountability, because we all have support. But sometimes when we hire someone, then there's more accountability, especially if you pay a lot of money, let's say. Like you really want to kind of have return on investment. So yeah.
So all those 100 goals that you wrote that initial night were achieved?
No. So I was flexible with the goals, like in the sense what was fixed was always 100. There was always 10 categories, but I allowed myself to change some of the goals. I think like in 60 or 70 goals were like from the initial list, and some goals I actually like modified a little bit so it makes sense at the time. But it was always like the same kind of categories or whatever.
I just have a question about the exact mechanics of it. So at a certain time each year, you would say the next year will be the year of.
Yeah. So what I would advise is like how to, if someone is inspired to do something like that. Yeah. The question is like what is needed in the moment. So back then when I was starting, like what really I needed is this whole socializing. That was like the biggest pain I had. And so I went for it. And I like the idea of immersion. I like the idea of like focus, because I believe when you immerse yourself, you can extract more wisdom out of it. I remember when I set like a small triathlon goal, it didn't really inspire me. But when I set like a big goal, and usually a yearly goal, you can set a big goal, suddenly I'm like full of inspiration. I think what Tim Ferriss said that like unrealistic goals are easier than regular goals, and I actually tend to agree.
So was it every day on say the 1st of March or something?
Usually December, usually 1st of January is my time that I kind of switch. Like even this year, even though I finished
So what's the next year?
Next year I'm not sure. So December I decide like what is really, but this year is the year of sharing for me. It's not really part of the 100 Life Goals, and this is what I'm doing. I'm sharing my story. A book is coming out in 2 months, and I'm gonna like put all my energy in promoting that book. And maybe at the end of the year, there'll be something completely different. I don't know. It will unfold. That's what I believe.
Just 1 year, 1 month of thinking about it.
Yeah, like I may have ideas right now, what is potential for next year, but the real decision I make like around December. Yeah.
So through your time doing your time in contribution year, and then your time in spirituality and meditation and detox, did you learn any techniques to help you hone in on your intuition or your heart to sort of guide you in a direction that's more authentic to who you want to become through that journey?
I mean, meditation obviously always helps, but like I think there's sometimes a lot of hype around like just doing meditation 5 minutes or half an hour throughout the day. I really believe in being in a meditative mode throughout the day. So even now, like speaking with you, like just like being able to sense my body from time to time, just this ability to sense and not just being in my mind, and being present basically. So that's what I did Vipassana, like 10 days of Vipassana, and it's a good experience as an experience. You can learn a lot about yourself. But what I realized, one of the big thing is that I wasn't designed to be a monk. I wasn't designed to just stay for 2 hours or 3 hours and just like basically that's what they advise you, like 2 hours a day. And but it really contributed to me being present and me being in a meditative mode and seeing the value of that. Because I feel like we all, I don't want to talk for other people, but I was very much in my mind when I started the journey, and now I have more balance between me feeling my body, like just this connection mind-body, like bringing it back. That's probably the most useful thing that I can actually say.
So anyone has no experience with meditation here? Anyone? Is there something that you can maybe advise people to get into meditation or try it out? Is there a tool or something on YouTube that you would recommend?
I don't go do any apps or whatever because I want to be off electronics really when I do this. But now I do my meditations in the shower. Like it's the best place for me to meditate. Actually, just like feeling the water, like smelling, whatever. Like it's a really good time to just like be with yourself. Take a lot of showers.
We have a workshop on Thursday. We have a workshop on meditation Thursday evening over here.
Yeah, I mean, there's many types of meditations. I mean, so you can focus on your breathing. You can focus. I mean, now if I drink my water and I just focus on that's meditation. Really, when you drink coffee, you can meditate. You taste the coffee. That's meditation. So I don't know how much you know about meditation, but it's different waves. Like when you're in thinking mode and when you're in sensing mode. And also, I want to say another thing is what's the reason for meditation? Some people meditating just because they're so busy in their mind, so that would be one technique for that. And maybe there would be a different technique if there's a different reason. So one way that I use meditation is for insights. Like when I say insights, I mean these inner voices. I don't want to be too spiritual here, but I really believe in this kind of inner guidance, that when I'm so busy and noisy here, I can't hear what is really needed, what my body really wants. And I believe now that my body is smarter. Before my divorce, I had so many signs that I didn't listen to. So many. My body was screaming. But I thought I was so smart. Yeah, I did an Ironman. I did this. I'm stronger, whatever. So I couldn't surrender. And just being now able to be connected with my body helps me to listen more. And that's basically my best advice. Just kind of listen. Yeah.
So despite everything being so variable, what's going to happen next? Do you have a routine? Something you always fall back to?
In terms of, when you say what's next in my life, what's next in...
I'm more curious about, do you have a routine, something that you can stick to?
Well, my routines, I have the same routine in the morning, so it's usually connecting with myself, basically. So meditation is one of them. I call it alignment, basically. So, you can come up, you have a lot of ideas in your brain, and alignment for me is wait a minute, what's important? What is important? And also reminding myself the truth, because a lot of time, my truth, I have all those whatever limiting beliefs, or I'm nervous or anxious, and alignment time for me is just to kind of go back into center, and knowing that it doesn't matter what I achieve outside, right? My presence is enough, and just knowing that inside of me allows me to kind of go back or get outside with way more centeredness, with way more energy. So that's basically my routine. I just really listen. But I don't know what's going to happen. I'm okay with that. I think a lot of time we're not okay with not knowing. We really want more certainty. But we all nomads, so adventure, what is adventure? Adventure is actually stepping into the unknown. There's no adventure without the unknown. So that's basically how I feel. It's a good blend to have. You set goals, but you're flexible with them. You can actually like give up on them. You change all your plans. Like I may like stay in Lisbon now. Like even though I booked my flight to Las Palmas, who knows? Or when I'm in Las Palmas, this Nomad cruise, I may go on the cruise and not do my plans. So that I allow myself to be flexible, but I'm still like, I still have plans, I still set goals. I blend both, basically.
What are some things that didn't work?
Well, a lot. Like all those like crisis alert, pain
No, but I
alert.
mean like, those are accidents. What are some things that you planned to do, some goals you had and you did it, like, wow, that was kind of a bust, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, so the first time I tried to do Vipassana, that didn't work. I actually I had a food poisoning, it was too hard for me, it was whatever, so I actually went and did it second time. And I actually got advice, I did the first Vipassana in India because it sounded like, alright, I'll do Vipassana in India. But he said like, well, India is a hard country to do that, like maybe just do it in a Western country. We'll have better food, better sleep, better whatever. And that worked. So along the way, there were a lot of challenges. I mean, like I just mentioned, like just part of them. Just even like the relationship crisis, like I nearly died, really. Physically, my body started to collapse. Like I had tinnitus, ear ringing, interesting ear ringing, I couldn't hear like, anything in that sense. So yeah, actually this is my message. My message is you are actually going to set a goal, you're going to have a plan, and life will come and bang, like move you from it. And then when it happens, I'm not saying let go of that. You can go back. But when it happens, relax to that, accept it. Oh, here you go, problem. I was kind of like, it's part of life. Versus not, I don't want to have any problems. Like that will be a life of no growth because you always will try to be in some kind of comfort. I don't know if that's answers.
So do you have any techniques to listen to your body? Like how do you hear what your body wants you to know?
So once you're in a more quiet place, first of all, like in general, quiet place in your home or an area where there's not a lot of. That's why I like the mornings. It's very quiet. Then I just focus on breathing. My breathing technique, Wim Hof.
Yes.
Anyone Wim? So I kind of adopted like his breathing technique. But I think also Navy SEALs are doing that, which is basically. You take like one breath and I think you hold it for a certain amount of time and then So that's what I do. Usually after a few minutes, I'm in a more spacey kind of place and I find myself way more creative or more insights coming in. And so it's really also useful for entrepreneurship. Like if you want to be in a more creative mode, perhaps meditation can help.
Was there a protocol to your sociability? Did you do something deliberately, or was it just, hey, let's just go out?
We had some. I mean, back then I was more like I studied computer science, so I had like rules and like whatever. And so some of them was, for example, when we go out, I have to speak with at least one person that I don't know. That was the whole point. There was also like at least one drink. Right, so that wasn't like
Was that before you spoke to the person or after?
It was just a crazy year. It's funny because when I switched to fitness, I almost kind of neglected my social life in so many ways because I couldn't maintain both. I had to wake up for training at 5 a.m. So I started have a different kind of social life. All these triathletes, I would go to their kind of parties, which are way earlier, much more healthy. I mean, I think they're crazy as well. Yeah, that's like intense on its own. But later, when I got back to socialize with more of these party people, some of them like said, "Where did you disappear?" And I said, "Well, I did triathlon." I didn't even say Ironman. I said, and then they looked at me, "You triathlon?" And they laughed like crazy because they couldn't imagine that because I was such a party animal I was going like to 5 a.m. Then I would even like consider like triathlon. So
it seems like like you said, there was the year of creativity, the year of spirituality. What if you want to move forward on all these domains at the same time? Like, my health is important to me, my spirituality is important to me, my contribution is important to me, but it's like I pile on 20 goals and I'm crushed under the load and I don't do any of them.
So my way, and it's my way, everyone is different in what works for them, is to have some base level of maintenance, I call it. All right, so base level for health, base level for creativity, base level for socializing. It's not that when I did the Ironman, I stopped socializing. I did socialize, but it was a more basic level. And I personally believe in highlighting one area and make it like, all right, this is whatever. If it's like financials, you put all your energy, because sometimes when you achieve one area, all the other areas benefit from it. Like for example, freedom allowed me so much, later. I may not be able to contribute as much if I didn't have my freedom.
Freedom being a financial freedom?
Yeah, financial freedom. I meant financial freedom. But also with the fitness, all the habits that I learned. Just being so strict with my habits. So what I'm trying to say is I really believe in immersion. This is if you're serious about big goals, you may want to do something like that. Because it's so big, how would you do that otherwise? I mean, how can you do Ironman triathlon if you're trying to build a big business, and it's almost impossible unless you're a Superman. I don't know. So it's kind of base level and then highlight something.
Did it require a lot of discipline on your part in terms of finding systems, techniques to get yourself to do it, or are you just so driven internally that it just bubbled out of you? Or do you have to find ways to get yourself to do what your mind wants, the rational parts of you wants to do, but your desires for other things pull you in different directions, and you have to find techniques to say, wait a minute, this is where I want to go, stay back on this path.
So it helped me to have a blog, because when I kind of announced something, I felt all right, there's more accountability. I shared it with the world. When I actually said that I'm going to get the financial freedom, I wrote a resignation letter, I think 4 months in advance. I sent an email to all my friends and I said, all right, this day I'm going to Nepal, whatever. So I created those structures to make sure that I'm going to achieve that. But it really depends, I guess, where do you finding your motivation, inspiration. I think this background that I had is a pretty good place to start, because if you have, I personally believe that spiritual energy or meaning is the biggest motivational force that you have.
So sometimes where you have some lack of motivation.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, almost all the time. But again, it's the same thing as crisis problem. It's just part of life. It's just a thing. I'm not making a big deal out of it anymore. So okay, here I'm not motivated. I know how to bring myself back to motivation. I know how to put myself in alignment. And if it's a bad day, there's always the next morning. In the next morning, I'm bringing myself back to center. And then another bad day, okay, doing it again. It's someone when I studied meditation, long time ago, I remember who said it. He said, all right, you bring yourself back to breath 1,000 times. Oh, sorry. You bring yourself to center, and then again, you kind of maybe your mind takes you somewhere. So 1,000 times, so you do it 1,001. You know what I mean? So you never stop. It's whoop, back and forth. Versus oh no, I have to have motivation the whole year. I don't think it's. For me, it's unrealistic.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about this crisis. Because I don't know if you already knew that. I just learned after the first or the second one that it leads you to something. But once you knew, do you deal with them in a different way? Can you just say something more about that?
Yeah, so I didn't know at the time. Because I was so driven and so goal-oriented, it was nothing gonna break me. What is this? Life, bringing me up. So again, I wasn't so aware. now I'm way more aware, which means that the time is shortened. It's not like when I had the snake bite, I was still like, oh, crisis, oh my God, like, I'm gonna die. I was like, just imagine like being in this kind of, but the time for me to get back to my awareness is shortened, which means I'm able to remind myself more easily. Like, there's a gift behind that, relax, blah, blah, blah. So that's basically what happened, I think, this journey. It doesn't mean that I'm now going to be like, oh yeah, like I know that every crisis there's a gift and I'm going to be zen in any crisis. I may be angry or whatever, but just bringing myself back, that's the real gift, just the back.
Have you found someone to share your lifestyle now?
Find someone, like you mean like a relationship?
Like maybe a girlfriend that has the same goals or stuff.
No, do you have any offers? Like,
but it's interesting to know.
it's hard. Nomad life is hard for that. But I have to say that, like, in this area, I don't set any goals because I want to. I feel like love and inspiration are very similar words in the sense that, like, they kind of come to you in many ways, and if you like try very hard, you come from a place of need. And I want to attract to my life a woman that is not needy. I don't want to be needy, and I don't want to be needy. So what I'm focusing on is a relationship with myself. Focusing, just be, first of all, be who I am. Like, not necessarily compromise on that. Just be happy, really. Like, and that by itself already creates attraction. People are attracted to you, you're attracted to other people. And so that's. I don't use Tinder. I don't use this kind of stuff because I really feel that that's what I want. I just want to be like, aligned and centered, and whatever happens from that would be a gift. So I'm pretty happy even being single. I don't have this like, pain, like I need someone. It doesn't exist now. I'll just be very happy to share my life with someone. It's still like, something I want, but I'm not, it's not that, and I'm going to get it. I did it and see what happened.
Are you still living as a nomad?
Well, I just decided to become a nomad again. So I've been living in Israel for a year and a half. And where in Israel? It's just a small town between Haifa and Tel Aviv. I used to live in Tel Aviv as well. So I chose being a nomad again because the way I live what I really believe right now is not just my personal preference and what I want, but also what is needed. So, for example, I really feel this strong calling to launch this book. It's a big pain, really. Like, just the whole writing the book and like ta-da-da. It's not that I have this strong desire to, make a lot of money or be famous with the book. I don't have that. But I have a strong calling to share my story. So I'm asking myself, what's the best place to do that, and what is needed really right now in the moment? And actually being nomadic was the answer. I'm most excited. If you told me like a year ago that like I'm gonna be a nomadic again, I would say, nah, it's not gonna happen. And now it's like, oh, I'm pretty excited to go back into this lifestyle. So I did like those back and forth. I don't think there's like a good way or a bad way. It's just like in the moment, what is good and what is bad. That's basically how I make choices, really.
What's the book again?
It's about this story, like the art of fully living, it's called, and
Is there a title? What's the title?
The Art of Fully Living, 1 Man, 10 Years, 100 Life Goals.
What's your advice on surviving a snake bite?
I did the most stupid mistake is like I ran, which is not smart because then the blood flows, whatever, and so don't run. Always have a cell phone so you can call someone, right? Or if you're with someone else. But I had a mobile phone. I was in nature, alone, in darkness. So I managed because I could call, and then when the ambulance came, I collapsed, and then from that point I couldn't actually move. And I think 15 later I couldn't even speak. Like there was no ability to speak, and then I started to couldn't breathe. It's like Israel. So my viper. I don't have an advice really besides just like
Go to the doctor.
it's really it's the worst thing that can happen. I mean, I can say okay, just like so. Okay, so maybe I'll share one thing about it. There was a point that it was like it was so painful to breathe, like because you fight for every breath, and I just said like just let go of this pain. So I was willing to kind of let go, like that. And there was this conflict in me, like of letting go completely and just like, say bye-bye to life, or like just fight for life. And this fighting for life I remember this thought that came to me like, but it can't end right now. It can't end, because I didn't publish my book yet. No, it can't end because I only gave 10% of who I've done a lot in my life, but I felt at that point that I only gave 10%. So that was like causing me like to fight for my life. So my advice is like if you have a calling, if you have something strong in there, that's enough. That's enough to kind of handle anything in life, whatever. Divorce is nothing for me right now. Like after snake bite, I don't know what's like the next thing that's gonna come. The other thing is like, now it still have pain, and I've heard that it's not gonna, it's just gonna stay there because the body has memory of the snake bite because it was so painful. But I see it as a gift because it's a constant reminder for, like, that it can end at any time. So I feel very lucky for this pain. I feel this pain right now, and I feel lucky about it. You see the craziness? I just became crazy in the sense that like pain is okay. It's not like a big deal. If you're a growth-oriented person, you are going to experience pain. I guarantee that. You have to in some way, because you're always going to meet some kind of edge. So if you're not okay with pain, it means, okay, you're like keeping yourself in some kind of comfort zone. I'm not advising to like love pain and all of that, but I'm just saying it's just part of life. That's all I'm saying. It's going to happen, it's part of life, and we can relax into that. And know that there's something behind it, and we're getting ready for the next stage, pretty much.
How you bring back yourself to motivation? You said that now you know how to bring yourself back to motivation when you're not there?
I do this alignment every morning, and this is how I kind of bring myself to, again, reminding myself what's important. I have this spreadsheet, I love spreadsheet, and on this spreadsheet, I have certain affirmations, certain things that I kind of really believe in. I can share the whole structure of what I do, but that's it. That's what I do in the morning. And then again, I'm losing motivation along the way or whatever. I know how to bring myself back to alignment. So bringing myself back to alignment could be in the middle of the day. I take a break for an hour and I take a shower again, or I go for nature. I basically go for somewhere that is quiet. That's my alignment time. Reminding myself that my presence is enough. Like, I don't necessarily have to do all of those things. This is a big thing for me. My presence is enough, and that's already like alignment for me. And I get back to motivation from that.
Does it ever not work?
Going back to alignment?
Yeah. Like you try, you do what supposedly brings you back to alignment, and it doesn't. You're still misaligned.
To be honest, like in the last few months, I'm a little bit like in struggle mode, like sometimes. But again, because I'm so committed, I always have in the back of my mind, I'm gonna get back to alignment. It's gonna happen. No matter what the crisis is, I just have this belief. If you have this meta belief, like that everything is, I'm able to go back to alignment. I'm able to find my people, whatever I need in the moment. Then the motivation comes from there. Just this like, it's not even rational, yeah. Who knows, yeah? But I'm just believing that that's the case. That I can always bring myself. So, yeah. I didn't have questions in the beginning. Now it's like.
Are you always trying to find new passive incomes for the future?
I have to say that I really prefer passive income than active income. No, the answer is no. So, for example, I'm coaching, and I do it because for my soul, I don't necessarily need the income as much, but I like the one-on-one. I like seeing people like growing, like just really very personal relationship. I really like that. So that's active income. But my preferences, if I build a business, it's always passive income, always, because the passive income allow me to do active income things from a place of love, not from a place that, oh, I need income, I need money, I need money, I need money. The decision would be different than a place of, let's say we have a coaching, and I don't really, it's not about me getting money from you, it's just me helping you, that's it, and what is needed. And so I prefer to be in that position in life, that I'm choosing to be with you. So passive income for me is like, and I'm kind of the most superior, I would say.
What you found was most important to create the passive income streams that you've created? Like having all the experience of books, courses, all the other things you've done, advertising. What's been your most best time investment for creating that passive income for yourself?
I want to answer the question in a different way. I would say whatever business you're building, if you really want to, I like the all-in kind of mentality in that sense. So that's what really helped me. So if, for example, if I have next year I may actually like launch a series of books, not just me writing, but basically like a brand, then I'm going to go all in that sense and give it all my power. So just the fact, that I'm consistent about it and I'm trying enough, right, or I'm having the quantity, it means that a validation would come out of that. Yes. A lot of people, they quit too early, I feel. That's basically my thing. When I started with just website and AdSense, I think I had 50 websites. I built 50 websites, my own websites, not for anyone else. And then it actually increased to 300. I was so passionate about passive income. I was so passionate about this freedom that I was like a machine. I hired people, all of that story. And that's basically what I want to say. And all my plans, by the way, they proven to be wrong in the sense of my assumptions. The things, some projects that I think that they won't succeed, suddenly show me, oh, go here. But I wouldn't be able to know that if I didn't even start. So that's my kind of advice. Go also for the all-in kind of quantity, because something will stick. And have anyone read Lean Startup and stuff like that?
Yeah, Eric.
Yeah, so they talk a lot about pivoting. So you have Airbnb. You know how Airbnb Airbnb. You know why it's called Airbnb?
Because of the air mattress.
That was the business idea. Like air mattresses, that they would kind of hire, rent places with air mattresses. Now it's they're pivoting to but even Nike, running shoes. Now they have a lot of things. So this pivoting, I really believe in it. But you can't. If you only use your mind like this, all right, here's the plan, here's the goal, you may not see what comes, from the sides. So just putting all force into something, I feel like something is going to come out, and if you anchored or align, you'll be able to listen.